Shocking rescue. Clouded leopard fights for life against a giant python attack at 3 a.m. The jungle was thick with darkness, alive with whispers of hidden dangers. Sounds echoed through the humid air, a mix of rustling leaves and distant howls. But nothing was as shocking as what happened at that very moment. At the heart of this chaos, a clouded leopard named Kira was facing the fight of her life. Her amber eyes were wide, reflecting sheer terror as a massive python, scales glistening under the moonlight, coiled tightly around a nearby tree, waiting, watching. It was an unusual night. The air felt charged, almost electric, as if nature herself held her breath. Kira, usually graceful and composed, was tense, a ball of fear and instinct. She could feel the predator's presence heavy, menacing. The python, 15 feet long and thick as a log, had a reputation. Snakes didn't simply ambush, they struck with calculated precision, and tonight, Kira was their chosen prey. Kira's heart raced. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to move. The jungle was her stage, but this performance was unlike any other she'd faced. The moonlight spilled through the canopy, illuminating her spotted coat like golden armor. Suddenly, a rustle snapped her attention back. The python's head moved, flicking its forked tongue as if tasting the air. Kira felt a lump in her throat, a surge of primal panic mixed with the instinct to survive. The tension grew thicker with each passing second. The world around her faded to noise, rustling insects, distant calls of night creatures, and her own heartbeat thudding in her ears. Just then, Kira noticed something glinting in the dirt below the tree. An old metal trap, rusted and forgotten, its jaws ajar. Would it turn against the snake, or would it be Kira who had to outsmart her foe? She had to think fast. Suddenly, a rustle from the underbrush caused Kira to pivot. What could it be? A glimmer of hope? Or would it be her final moment? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Kira's instincts kicked in, adrenaline surged. She darted towards the trap, weaving through the thick foliage, heart pounding, eyes darting back to the python looming above. The creature was poised, ready to strike at any moment. Her feet barely touched the ground, moving faster than she ever thought possible. A sudden silence engulfed the jungle, a collective gasp from the unseen witnesses, the other creatures within this theater of nature. In that moment, Kira felt heavy with fate, knowing that she was not just dodging death, she was making choices that echoed in the wild. The python tensed, muscles rippling beneath its thick skin. Time seemed to stretch as Kira launched herself into a leap, aiming both for freedom and survival. Would she escape the jaws of doom? Or would the predator prevail in this dark dance of life and death? The anticipation hung in the air, thick and electric, leaving everything in question as the wild trembled in suspense. Kira sprang into the air, her powerful legs propelling her towards the trap. The jungle seemed to blur around her, a rush of greenery and shadows as she sailed through the night. She could feel the ground pull away beneath her paws, the weight of the python's gaze burning into her back. Then, a deafening silence shattered her focus. The python lunged. In a split-second decision, Kira twisted mid-air, landing with a thud. She turned just in time to see the serpent's massive jaws snap shut mere inches from her. The sudden rush of air from the python's strike swept over her, a chilling reminder of how close she had come to disaster. But she didn't have time to think. The snake's body coiled and uncoiled like a spring, readying for another attack. Kira's instinct screamed at her to run, but she knew she had to stall for time. The trap. She darted toward the forgotten metal jaws half buried in the foliage. If she could just maneuver the snake into it, perhaps she could turn the tide. The thought seemed desperate, yet in the heart of the jungle, anything was possible. As she skidded to a halt near the trap, her heart hammered in her chest, each beat a countdown against imminent danger. With a sickening thud, the python struck again, but Kira was prepared. She feinted left, then right, dodging the deadly fangs that glistened with hunger. Each movement was a ballet of survival, fluid yet frantic, adrenaline cutting through the jungle haze. The snake hissed, angry and frustrated. Kira could almost see the thoughts flickering behind those cold, reptilian eyes as it recalibrated its approach. The rush of the chase ignited a spark in her. Kira pushed forward, leading the massive predator, each twist and turn drawing it closer to the trap. She could feel the tension building, the ground vibrating with the stir of unseen creatures watching the unfolding drama. Then an unexpected rustle erupted behind her. Kira dared not look back. Was it a friend or foe? A new danger? But she couldn't afford the distraction. Focused on her escape route, she leaped again, landing perilously close to the metal trap. Just as she glanced back, the python lunged forth, its body slicing through the air like a whip. Kira dashed forward, narrowly avoiding its strike. But now, it wouldn't just be her agility against its strength, it was a matter of wits against a predator that could crush bone. With a burst of daring, Kira launched herself around the trunk of the tree, aiming to outsmart the snake. She zigzagged, back towards the trap. The coppery scent of sweat and fear mingled in her nostrils. The creature hadn't anticipated her sudden change of direction. It was too close, too focused when she kicked off the ground and made her final dash, straight toward that rusty metal trap. The jaws sprang open, creaking with an age-old hunger. Would Kira's gamble work? Would the trap work in her favor, or was it she who'd become ensnared in her own scheme? As she hurtled past, the world slowed. The snake lashed out, but Kira had already made her choice. Then everything went dark. A shadow loomed over her, dripping with venomous intent. What had she missed? What would happen next in this deadly game of survival? As the standoff continued, Kira faced a chilling realization. The jungle wasn't just a stage for her fight, it was alive, a theater of chaos, drastically changing at every turn. Would the next moment be her last? Or was there something lurking behind the darkness that might shift the odds in her favor? Kira blinked against the darkness, her senses blaring. The jungle air was thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and tension. Her heart raced, pounding in her ears like thunder, but the ominous shadow above her was far more pressing than the fear coursing through her veins. With a sudden flicker of life, the darkness receded, revealing a massive form looming eerily close. The python's scales glimmered in the dim light filtering through low-hanging branches. Kira's instinct was to freeze, but she felt a surge of adrenaline pushing her to act. She couldn't afford to be dinner. She rolled to her side just as the snake's jaws snapped shut where she had been moments before. The sound echoed like a warning bell in the stillness of the night. Kira scrambled to her feet, adrenaline sharpening her focus. She needed to find a way out, a place to hide, anything to evade those deadly fangs. An idea sparked in her mind, a quick dart to the left toward the dense underbrush that could shield her. With nimble agility, she propelled herself into the thicket, branches scratching her sides as she squeezed through. The jungle erupted around her, the cacophony of rustling leaves and snapping twigs engulfing her senses. In that chaos, she could hear the heavy rhythm of the python's body sliding through the foliage, relentless and determined. The snake wasn't just hunting, it was enraged, and Kira could feel its fury coursing through the ground beneath her paws. As she dove deeper into the thicket, Kira's breath quickened. Fear had a way of blurring her thoughts, but she couldn't afford to let panic take over. She remembered tales of her mother, of bravery and cunning in the face of danger. Today, she needed that wisdom. Just as Kira prepared to veer left once more, a sharp whisper emerged from the shadows. "Over here." It was a voice, raspy yet urgent. Without hesitating, Kira turned toward the sound. Was it friendly or just another threat? She had to take the chance. She burst into a small clearing where, to her astonishment, a wild boar stood, eyes wide and bristling with alarm. Kira didn't have time to ponder why it was here. "We can help each other," she gasped, her voice laced with desperation. The boar looked startled, but instinctively understood the danger. "The python is relentless," it grunted. "We must outsmart it together." No time to question the pig's resolve. Kira nodded, and they both strategized quickly. Distract it, she urged, feeling a wave of hope. If they could lead the predator away, maybe they'd buy enough time to escape. With a sudden, forceful rush, the boar charged towards the underbrush where the snake had last been seen, its hooves pounding the earth in defiance. The python, sensing movement, swiveled toward the boar. Kira took her chance, darting low beneath an enormous fern and sneaking around to flank the beast, but the python was fast, its body a coiled spring ready to unleash chaos. Kira felt the brush of wind as it lashed out again, and again. Panic surged, but she pushed it down, focusing completely on the task at hand. Just as the serpent lunged at the boar, its massive head swerved back toward Kira. She was exposed. But in that moment, clarity struck. She recalled the trap, a desperate measure but one that might just save them. Kira charged toward the rusted metal jaws, calling out to the boar. This way. Now. The boar, drawing the serpent's attention, veered in a split-second decision, following Kira toward the trap. Could their combined courage turn the tide? Would they ensnare the monster or fall prey to its ferocity? As Kira hurtled toward the trap, she felt the ground quake beneath her. The jungle seemed to hold its breath, a silence filled with tension hanging in the air. And just as she leaped toward the jaws of fate, a roaring echo of a different predator echoed above. What had she unleashed in the depths of darkness, and would it be friend, or ultimate foe? Kira hung in the air for a split second, adrenaline screaming as gravity pulled her down toward the cold, rusted jaws of the trap. The world around her warped in slow motion, the shadows thickening as she realized she wasn't alone in this fight. That roaring sound above pierced through her racing thoughts, a low, guttural growl, resonating from the canopy. Seconds felt like hours as she landed, scrambling to her feet right next to the steel trap, mere inches from its metallic grasp. She glanced back just in time to see the enormous python tense, coiling its muscles, prepared to lunge at her. The wild boar, caught mid-charge, hesitated with confusion. Time blurred, Kira had to act fast. Move! She shouted to the boar, a sudden wave of urgency pouring through her. They couldn't just hope for luck. The jungle was alive with danger. As if zapped by the same electric charge, the boar leapt to the side, narrowly avoiding the snake. Kira barely registered its movement before turning her attention back to the commotion above. The screeching of branches broke the night as a clouded leopard descended swiftly from the trees, its powerful limbs striking the ground a heartbeat after it leaped. The leopard's striking golden eyes caught Kira's gaze, a spark of wild instincts igniting within her. They were both predators. She felt a flicker of hope, for perhaps they would join forces in this perilous moment. But as the leopard skidded to a stop, bristling in alarm, one thing became crystal clear: it wasn't targeting Kira. A terrifying growl erupted from deep within the beast's throat, loading the air with raw strength. The clouded leopard focused on the python, seeing it as competition, and lunged with fierce ferocity, its claws extended. The python jerked toward this new adversary, clearly flustered by the sudden change in dynamics. Grab its tail! Kira shouted, as if any hint from her could sway the chaos in their favor. She couldn't believe her own words. Was she actually encouraging the leopard to do what her instincts told it? Yet, in that frantic moment, she had to believe they could all work together. Outsmarting the python might be their only shot at survival. The leopard darted right, ensnaring the python's gaze with its fluid movements. Kira knew a moment of clarity: they all shared a common goal, one that transcended species and instinct. She cautiously circled back around the trap to get into position, heart pounding louder than the chaos around her. But as she readied herself, a sharp crack echoed through the trees. A branch snapped under the weight of the leopard as it tangled with the python, and Kira's heart dropped. Could this giant python truly withstand a beast so powerful? The predator and prey wrestled violently, leaving Kira rooting for the leopard while her instincts screamed at her to flee. She noticed how the python's eyes darted, confusion and fury mingled as it twisted, trying to shake off its new competitor. With a quick glance, she caught the boar watching, uncertain yet hopeful. This was their chance. Kira had to rally her allies. This is it! She yelled, voice trembling with urgency. distract it. Now. Together, they had to push their limits. Everyone had to believe that this terrifying moment could turn in their favor. They surged forward, the boar running alongside Kira as they charged toward the python. And in that illuminating moment, something inside Kira shifted. They weren't merely prey. They were a team, crafting their own destiny. But as she drew closer, Kira felt the shadows stir with a deeper menace. A deeper chorus of growls echoed ominously, growing louder and closer. What dark force loomed in the depths that was attracted by the chaos? The jungle was shifting again, and Kira could feel ancient eyes watching them all. Was their alliance strong enough to face whatever else lurked in the shadows, or had they merely awoken a greater evil to unleash upon them? The night was far from over. Kira's heart raced, each beat pounding louder against her ribcage as the chaos crescendoed. A sliver of clarity pierced through the wild torrent of instincts begging her to run. This was no time to hesitate. The leopard and the python wrangled fiercely, their growls and hisses clawing at the air. Kira urged the boar onward, feeling the weight of the night pressing against her. "Come on!" she shouted over the cacophony, adrenaline igniting her voice. They were in this together, and the higher stakes meant they had to overcome their fears if they were going to make it out alive. The boar answered with a determined grunt, charging forward despite its uncertain footing. Kira felt a rush of shared survival, the bond between predator and prey morphing into something fierce and protective. They were all alive, fighting for their place in the chaos, a primal force of nature threading through them. The leopard, displaying impressive agility, soared above the python's striking fangs, its claws raking into the snake's scales. The python coiled and slithered, attempting to evade its aggressive opponent. Every move sent shockwaves through Kira's mind. This was raw power at play, each creature embodying the untamed spirit of the jungle. Then, the ground trembled. A deeper growl, far more menacing than the ones before, vibrated through the roots of the trees. Kira's pulse quickened as though the very earth itself was warning her something monstrous was on the move. Through the dense foliage, she glimpsed dark shapes flitting just beyond her sight. Eyes like embers glowed briefly in the shadows before disappearing. Kira's stomach tightened. What had been drawn into this fray? "Keep moving," she barked, urging the boar to flank her on the side opposite the snapping jaws of the python. They closed in, ready to surround the snake in their desperate attempt to conquer the nightmare. But then crash! A thick limb broke off from above, careening down toward the showdown, and Kira's eyes widened in horror. It was all too much, too quick. "Watch out!" The clouded leopard dodged, but the python, its instincts sharp, turned in a flash. The broken branch smashed down, narrowly missing Kira but knocking the leopard off balance. It staggered, its gaze flickering back to the python, now coiling around it, its strength leaving a vice-like grip. Kira felt ethereal panic consume her. They were running out of time. "Form a circle around it," she commanded, springing forward with the boar at her side. They had to keep the python distracted, but the shadows thickened further, an amalgam of darkness that began to swirl and coalesce. Kira turned, eyes wide, scanning the trees for the source of the growing roar. A massive figure emerged, muscles rippling under the faint moonlight. It was a jaguar, eyes glinting with predatory hunger, emerging just as the python captured the leopard in a brutal embrace. "No, no!" Kira breathed, feeling dread wash over her. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but she stood firm. The leopard was in peril, and if she couldn't rally the others, all was lost. As the jaguar prowled forward, surveying its potential prey, Kira's mind raced. What could she do to rally her makeshift pack, to forge a way through? Instinct said to run, but resolve anchored her in place. Would they fight together against this new threat or fall prey to the chaos consuming them? The pulse of the jungle echoed in her ears, a heartbeat reverberating through the shadows. What choices would shape their fate this night? Kira's grip tightened as she prepared for the fight of their lives against the darkness closing in around them. The moment had come. Only one question lingered: would they emerge together, or was this the end of their fragile alliance? Kira's heart slammed against her chest like a war drum. The jaguar prowled forward, muscles tensing and loosening in anticipation. She could see it sizing them up, its jaws parted slightly, revealing sharp teeth that glinted like knives in the night. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but the thought of abandoning the leopard anchored her in place. "Form a line," she yelled, her voice a desperate plea cutting through the overwhelming tension. "We need to distract it." The dark shadows of the jungle seemed to swirl around them, closing in like a living nightmare. Kira glanced at the boar, whose wild eyes mirrored her own fear. "Stay close," she urged, placing herself protectively between the jaguar and the vulnerable boar. With each slow step the jaguar took, Kira's mind raced for a plan. They needed a diversion, something to pull the jaguar's focus away from the trapped leopard. Kira's gaze darted to the nearest tree, its gnarly limbs twisting upward like ancient fingers beckoning her. "Over here," she shouted, suddenly diving toward the tree. The boar instinctively followed, grunting in confusion. She grabbed a loose branch and yanked it down, feeling the weight of it in her hands. She swung it overhead, making a racket that would test even the darkest creature's patience. The jaguar paused, eyes narrowing as it turned toward her. Kira felt adrenaline pulse through her veins. "This is it," she breathed, her entire being focusing on the single, desperate act that could save them. With all her might, she hurled the branch into the brush on the opposite side. It thudded against the undergrowth, sending leaves rustling wildly. The jaguar hesitated, caught between instinct and curiosity. "Now!" Kira shouted to the boar and leaped forward, pushing through the thickets. She could hear a low rumble building in the jaguar's throat, its patience thinning. As if on cue, with one issue drawing the jaguar's attention, the leopard, pinned beneath the python's muscular hold, made a powerful move. With a surge of will, the leopard thrashed, its powerful legs striking out as it attempted to twist free. "Go, go," Kira urged, adrenaline flooding her body. The boar charged alongside her, its hooves pounding the ground with a fierce intensity, creating a racket that filled the silence of the night. Kira felt every heartbeat resonate around her like thunder. Their chances were dwindling, and they needed to act with urgency. The jaguar snapped its head toward them again. Kira faced it, feeling the terrifying weight of its predatory eyes boring into her. But there was no room for fear. If she didn't stand her ground now, they'd all pay the price. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, Kira saw movement. Smaller creatures were drawn to the commotion, birds taking flight, scuttling rodents darting into the shadows. The jungle was alive, just as they were. They would not perish here. Kira took a deep breath, readying herself for the leap back toward the leopard. "Get free!" she yelled to the leopard. "Fight! We can do this together!" With one last push, the leopard found its footing, clawing at the python's scales. Kira leaped forward, rallying all her energy to insert herself into the fray, aware that this moment would decide their fate. But before she could reach them, the jaguar lunged. It was a blur of powerful fur and claws. Kira's heart sank as she realized she had only seconds to act. Could she break their chaotic hold before it was too late? In this moment of desperation, what gods of the jungle would answer her call? The answer loomed larger than life as the shadows thickened once more. What would the next moment bring? Would they be torn apart or stand united in the face of their common enemy? Kira's eyes widened as the jaguar surged forward, a thunderous flash of muscle and fury streaking through the dense underbrush. Time slowed as she instinctively threw herself to one side. The jaguar's jaws snapped shut where she had stood just moments ago, a heartbeat away from disaster. "Now!" she screamed, her voice ripping through the dense darkness. With every ounce of strength, she lunged forward again, aiming to reach the leopard tangled in its deadly embrace. The boar, spurred by Kira's shout, barreled past her, squealing as it charged instinctively toward the jaguar. Kira's heart raced in tandem, recognizing this as their collective chance. The boar darted close enough to distract the jaguar for a split second, drawing its gaze away from the leopard. That was all Kira needed. Come on," she muttered, feeling the air thicken with tension. Sweat dripped down her brow as she grasped the truth. If they didn't act as one now, they would all become another meal in the predator's relentless hunt. The leopard, finally finding its freedom, twisted out from below the snake's grip, its fur matted and eyes wild with determination. It sprang upward, infused with a raw, instinctual power. Kira felt hope flicker within her. The leopard was not a beaten creature after all. As the jaguar turned towards the boar, Kira threw herself back toward the leopard's side, shouting, "We need to go. Follow my lead." It was time to rally their forces. The jaguar pounced on the boar, but Kira could see the creature still had fight left, charging back with a fierce grunt. In that brief moment of chaos, the jaguar's focus ebbed as it grappled with the boar, allowing Kira to sidle closer to the leopard. Its muzzle was bloodied, but fierce gold eyes glimmered back at her. They shared a moment of solidarity, a silent understanding that forged an unbreakable bond. "Can you run?" she asked urgently, knowing they had no time to waste. The landscape danced around them, every rustle in the underbrush a reminder of their peril. With a growl, the leopard rose. "Then let us go." Kira felt her heart pound in rhythm with the urgency of the scene as she led the charge deeper into the jungle, the roaring sounds of the jaguar and boar clashing at their heels. But danger lurked everywhere. Kira could hear the jaguar's frustrated growl, powerful and enraged. A wild scream from the boar echoed through the trees as it clashed against the jaguar, and Kira felt mixed emotions swell within her, fear for the boar's fate, but also fierce resolve for her own and the leopard's survival. Branches whipped against her skin as they sprinted through the undergrowth, adrenaline crackling in the air. Behind them, the jaguar emitted another thunderous roar, sounding almost like a warning, a promise of retribution. Kira could only hope they had bought enough time, and then, just as they thought they had a moment to breathe, a chilling hiss sliced through the foliage, sending a fresh wave of terror crashing down upon them. The python had shifted, now coiling up, revealing its powerful length as it readied for a new strike. Kira's chest tightened. "Not again," she whispered, dread curling around her heart. They had escaped one threat, but now two hunters stood against them. "Stay close," she yelled to the leopard, tightening her grip on resolve. "We need to move." As if in response to her shout, the python launched itself forward, an unforgiving shadow swooping in fast. The world seemed to narrow, filled with the cacophony of primal chaos as they faced the pulse of danger head dash on. In this jungle of threats, Kira felt the thin line between life and death flicker. They had to fight back or risk losing everything they had just gained. Could they make it out alive this time? With the shadows closing in, Kira prepared to face the oncoming storm. Little did she know that the battle was only beginning, and not just with their immediate threats. A rival presence loomed within the tangled darkness, waiting for its chance to pounce. Kira barely had time to register the python's attack when it lunged, its scaled body moving in a blurring rush. The ground trembled as it came, a grotesque, slithering bolt of green and brown, its eyes glinting like shards of darkness. "Get back!" she shouted, adrenaline pouring through her veins. The leopard hesitated for only a moment, its muscles tensing, ready to dart. Kira took a step forward, arms raised instinctively between them. It was absurd, really, standing her ground against a creature that could crush her in an instant. But fear had ignited a fire within her that she couldn't ignore. The python struck, its powerful coils aiming straight for the leopard. Kira's mind raced, searching for anything, any tool she could grasp to fend off the predator. Desperation clawed at her throat as she snatched a fallen branch from the ground. It was flimsy, but it would have to do. "Now!" she squeaked, striking up a primal roar that she didn't know she possessed. The leopard shot into motion, agile and fierce, tearing away just as the python's body snapped where it had been moments ago. Its growl echoed in the stillness, blending with the jaguar's distant roars, but Kira couldn't afford to think about that. They were still in danger, and she had to protect both herself and the animal by her side. "Down!" Kira yelled, lowering her body. The python, now agitated and hungry, had turned its attention toward her, flicking its tongue, tasting the air thick with fear. Kira braced herself, brandishing the branch as if it were a sword against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, the python lunged at her. Kira swung the makeshift club with all her might, connecting with the creature's jaw just as its body came crashing into her. Pain erupted in her side, the impact sending her sprawling to the ground, but she could not relent. The leopard darted in, sinking its teeth into the python's exposed flesh while Kira rolled away. Kira gasped and scrambled to her feet, heart racing, blood thumping in her ears. She turned to see the leopard wrestling with the python, clawing into its scales ferally. It was a fight for survival, one that could end in tragedy at a moment's notice. Together! Kira screamed, feeling the weight of her responsibility bearing down on her. We can take it down together. With a steely resolve, the leopard's sharp gaze locked onto Kira's. It understood, and it leaped back in a fluid motion, tail whipping like a fury unchained. The python hissed angrily, its focus split between its two foes. Kira lunged forward again, heart pounding as she swung the branch with all her pent-up fear and rage. She struck the python across its head, stunning it just long enough for the leopard to bolt in for the finishing blow. With a shattering growl, the leopard dug its claws deep into the python's flesh, ripping through sinew and muscle. Kira felt a surge of fierce pride wash over her. They were fierce and relentless, a team woven from desperation and fight. But the victory was fleeting. The python, writhing in agony, unleashed a bone-chilling roar, spiraling its massive body in a last-ditch attempt to twist free. Kira's breath hitched in her throat. Realization swept over her like a cold wave. This confrontation was only a skirmish in a larger battle. The jungle was ancient and unforgiving, but so were they. They were being hunted, and now they had provoked the dark undercurrents that thrived in the shadows. With the python thrashing, Kira knew that staying too long was a gamble they couldn't afford. Now. We need to find shelter, she urged, instinctively scanning the twisted roots and branches around them, searching for anything that could provide cover. But even in her urgency, she sensed a new threat, heavier and almost suffocating. Underneath the rustle of leaves, beneath the rumble of distant growls, another presence loomed, a predator unlike any they had faced thus far, its hunger palpable and approaching. And in that moment, Kira understood with chilling clarity, survival in this jungle came at a price. Would they be ready to pay it? With the echoes of danger surrounding them, the true challenge awaited just beyond the darkness. Panic surged in Kira, a cold, tightening grip around her chest. She snatched at the air, desperate for a breath as the jungle came alive with the sounds of unseen threats. The jagged pulse of fear raced through her veins, and she felt the weight of the leopard's trusting gaze anchored on her. They had fought so hard, but the battle wasn't over. Come on, she urged, her voice barely breaking through the fear tangled in the dense air. Kira darted toward a thick cluster of vines, trying to find a refuge amidst the tree's twisted roots. The leopard followed, a blur of muscles and instinct, its breaths harsh and rapid. Just as they reached the shelter, the ground quaked under another sheer force. Kira turned, heart in her throat. From behind the tangle of branches, jaws wider than her body bound forth a massive jaguar, sleek and predatory, eyes gleaming with the promises of death. It was a predator among predators, unfazed by the remnants of the clash that had just transpired. The jaguar didn't roar, it commanded silence, a terrifying presence that sliced through the jungle noise. Kira's breath caught. She felt the wetness on her hands, the python's blood. Here they were, bloodied, trembling, and exposed, while this new danger towered before them. Stay close, she hissed, lowering her body instinctively. The leopard crouched at her side, its sharp, calculating eyes never leaving the jaguar. The moments stretched, time suspended like the thick vines hanging overhead. Kira could feel the jaguar measuring them, calculating its next move. It shifted with an eerie elegance, muscles rippling like liquid night, and then it lunged. Run! Kira screamed, the command ripping from her throat as she pulled the leopard with her. They burst into the trees, hearts pounding in unison as the jaguar pursued, agile and sure-footed. Panic ignited adrenaline, propelling them forward into the dense shadows where visibility dropped to nearly nothing. Branches ensnared Kira's arms like grasping hands, tugging at her collarbone as she ducked and twisted to escape. Faster! She begged herself, every nerve ending screaming for escape. The low growls of the jaguar echoed behind them, a promise of violence creeping closer. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath her feet. Kira stumbled, falling into a thick patch of mud, gasping as the weight of the earth seemed to swallow her. The leopard skidded next to her, paws slipping on the loamy surface. For a heart-stopping moment, Kira was afraid they were finished, but they weren't sinking. The mud provided just enough grip as she steadied herself. "This way!" she shouted, scrambling back to her feet as the jaguar streaked closer, its growls reverberating in her chest. Kira's mind raced, seeking a possible escape. There. Ahead, a narrow crevice in the jagged rocks seemed to yawn, almost inviting them. It was a chance, but they had to hurry. With a swift glance over her shoulder, Kira saw a flash of intimidating orange and black barreling after them. They were almost there. "Almost go," she urged the leopard, shoving it forward, her own fear boiling into fierce determination. The crevice was a squeeze, a desperate choice that could mean salvation or snare, and then, as they dove into the narrow opening, Kira felt a powerful shove at her back. Panic flooded her senses as she stumbled. Was it the jaguar? In the very next heartbeat, she was in darkness, pressed against the cool stone. She could not see. The roar of the jungle faded behind them, replaced by the rapid drumming of her heart. "Are we safe?" she whispered, breathless and frantic, clutching the leopard as they both tried to catch their breath in the suffocating darkness. The weight of tension hung thick like the jungle around them, but little did they know the darkness had ears. What awaited them in this concealed chamber? Kira's heart sank deeper as she thought of the horrors lurking just beyond the jagged rocks. The darkness enveloped Kira and the leopard, stifling and alive with tension. There was no way to know what prowled just outside the thin walls of stone. Kira squeezed her eyes shut, forcing herself to breathe. She could feel the leopard's heart racing next to her, echoing her own terror. They had made it this far, they couldn't lose their resolve now. "I'm here," Kira whispered, seeking to comfort both herself and her companion. The steady thump of her heart reminded her of the stakes. "We'll get through this." But what lay ahead? Would escape be just a shimmer of hope, or the cruel tease of another predator? She felt the weight of the world pressing down on her, suffocating her with every second. Light flickered ahead, barely perceptible, painting her imagination with visions of freedom. But freedom often comes at a price, and lurking in her mind was the ever-present danger they had just eluded. The jaguar's growl lingered, hungry and unyielding. "Can you see anything?" Kira asked, her voice a mere breath amongst the thick silence. The leopard's soft growl reverberated in the darkness. Sure of their shared goal, Kira steadied her resolve. "We have to move. If we stay here, we'll be trapped." With a cautious step forward, she felt her way through the cramped passage, the cool stone brushing against her side. The leopard stumbled beside her, following her lead as they ventured deeper into their sanctuary. Each sound around them echoed ominously, illusions of cracks in the stone transforming into fear. Suddenly, she felt a rush, a gust of warm air brushing past them. Kira's heart raced. "It's opening up," she gasped. The corridor widened just as the jaguar's roar echoed again behind them, a chilling reminder that they weren't safe yet. Kira felt her instincts kick in, urgency coursed through her veins. "Run!" She surged forward into the light. As they burst through the opening, Kira shielded her eyes against the bright expanse of daylight, finally shedding the suffocating embrace of the tunnel. The clearing was vast and lush, drenched in sunlight streaming through the greenery. She glimpsed a thin layer of smoke rising in the distance, marmalade hues warming the edges of the trees, a sign of human presence. Kira's pulse thundered in her ears as the ground trembled beneath the powerful leaps of the jaguar behind them, growling deeper now with the ferocity of a predator unwilling to be thwarted. "Keep moving!" she shouted to the leopard, who kept pace with her, instincts in sync with her own. They raced across the clearing, but the jaguar was relentless. It was a master of stealth, turning the brush into a perfect cover. Kira could hear its growl echoing through the air, only intensifying the terror racing through her. But then, to her surprise, a band of wild monkeys erupted from the treetops, sensing the chaos. They called out, shrieking wildly, throwing branches and leaves in all directions, roiling the jungle into a frenzied wave of sound. The jaguar hesitated, distracted momentarily by the cacophony. "Now!" Kira shouted. She turned toward the direction of the smoke, weighing her options. The humans nearby would serve as a shield against the predators that claimed the jungle as their own. With renewed determination, she dove to the edge of the tree line, the leopard at her heels. They needed to cross beyond the sanctuary of the jungle before the jaguar regained its focus. The monkeys mobbed the jaguar, howling with fury as they threw their small bodies in defense, a chaotic defense that gave Kira the opportunity they desperately needed. Just a little further, Kira urged, leaping over tangled roots, her legs pumping as she and the leopard surged forward. The adrenaline propelled them through, a determination forged in the fires of instinct and survival. Then a terrifying explosion of sound erupted from behind, a roar of frustration as the jaguar found itself overwhelmed by the reptiles, insects, and defiant monkeys that formed a living shield. Kira and the leopard dashed past a group of startled humans, who stood slack-jawed in astonishment at the wild chaos unfolding before them. For a fleeting moment, they halted, eyes wide with the marvel of nature's turmoil. Kira caught a glimpse of their expressions, filtering through the wild treetops, but she couldn't waste time. The jaguar would be piercing through in moments. She gestured wildly for the humans to step aside, leading the leopard into their midst. And then the jaguar appeared in full force, fierce and sinewy, muscles rippling beneath its golden fur. Kira felt a surge of panic as the jaguar locked its steely gaze on her. But it was too late. The humans, finally processing the chaos, unleashed a torrent of cries and movement-grabbing tools, banging on metal, and throwing stones to protect their territory. The collective noise tore through the air, driving the jaguar back, bewildered by the power of a different kind of pack. Kira and the leopard ducked and dashed, continuing across the distance, away from their chaos of the jungle into an uncertain future. Once they reached the protection of the trees beyond the clearing, Kira stopped, breathless, trembling with a mix of adrenaline and relief. The jungle loomed behind them, fierce, chaotic, and alive. Behind her, the jaguar faltered, retreating into the underbrush, outmatched by both the wildness of nature and the resilience of a team forged in moments of desperation. With the sunlight warming her back, Kira felt the enormity of the night they had survived. "We did it," she breathed, looking at the leopard. It released a soft, relieved growl, their shared bond underlined by the rawness of their experience. They had faced death together, transcended the primal instincts that divided them, all to emerge on the other side, united in survival. Together, they would navigate the wild, together, they could face anything. As the sun dipped low in the sky, Kira felt a swell of hope, embers of a new chapter glowing warmly in her chest. They had conquered the chaos. Their fight continued, but they did not fight alone. And wherever their journeys would take them next, they would remember this night, etched forever in their hearts, a testament to resilience and the bonds that could be forged even in the face of darkness. That was survival. Now the challenge was not only how to navigate the wild. It was how they would thrive in it together. If you loved this incredible journey, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that dive deep into the wild, the unseen, and the extraordinary. Smash that like button now to support us and feed the algorithm with your enthusiasm. Don't hold back, flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about what's next for Kira and the leopard. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what makes this all possible.